1/4, what'd you say? 1/4 gay?
1/4. He said it's straight production design, and it's a little bit gay.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. I think I'm like one.
I think everyone's a little bit gay.
Yeah. I might be just under.
But between the two of us, well
then
like 1/3.
Between the two of you guys are like almost,
it's a little more.
Almost half.
Yeah, I know. That's why I was like,
maybe a little.
So we're rolling. So Jimmy, whenever you're ready.
So you want to just start by each of you, starting with you, Maggie, just say your name and...
that I also worked as production design? Mm-hmm. Great, cool. Great, so hi, I'm Maggie Scranton, and I also worked as the production designer.
Hi, I'm Hilary Williams, and I worked as the assistant production designer.
Excellent. Can you actually just say, and just leave the also out,
in
case somebody watches that, like,
perfect,
not in the order?
Yep. Hi, I'm Maggie Scranton, and I worked as the production designer.
I'm Hilary Williams, and I was the assistant production designer.
Awesome. So for anybody who doesn't know, what exactly does your day entail on set as production designer? I mean, is it a lot, like, maybe talk about the pre-production side and production side?
Great. So pre-production is getting the script breakdown from the assistant director, so we can know what props, what wardrobe, what sets we've got, what things might end up being CGI, what things might end up being unnecessary because they're going to ultimately be cut once we get to the final script, et cetera, et cetera. So it's sort of working through the specifics of what we need and then prioritizing how soon we need to start working on those things, because certain things you can purchase a week before, other things you need to order them online or whatever it is.
It's a lot of lists.
Yeah, it is.
And I think too that it's the logistics, right, of literally going through the script and going, this is what we need for each of these things, but then it's also artistically then making a decision together of like, and so then what does this thing look like and why, depending on our conversations with Corey and Jimmy and the like.
Yeah. So I think pre-production is a strong balance between practicalities and just pragmatism of like, what do we need to get and what do we need to make sure we have on set with us, and then balanced by creativity things. Some things are like, we need bananas, like you just get bananas, like that's basic. And then there are other things that are, we have to create some sort of like the cards that that Hilary designed, realizing, okay, what do we want those to look like? And then that will open up between a conversation between us and then a strong collaboration between what Jimmy and Corey were interested in doing with that moment. And so there are some things that are a strong creative ideas that we are going to have, and then just sort of a, hey, is this cool? And then director, writer, producers are like, yes, good to go. Other things are more of stronger conversations with those people about what kind of looks or things they want.
Excellent. So do you think you could use the example of the card, the business card?
Yeah.
How we kind of, I don't know whose idea it was, but it was kind of last minute that we decided it was going to be this subtle but very strong, you know, we came at you and said we need 2 business cards.
Yeah.
Was like, maybe just talk about that for
Absolutely. I think that, I think it was Corey that came and had this great idea about that. And then I think if I remember correctly, was I sort of heavily working on wardrobe.
Yes.
And then I also just know Hilary's really great with that kind of stuff. So I passed it off to her.
And a lot of it was, I mean, can I kind of give stuff away? I don't want to give things away a little too much.
Yeah,
okay. Okay.
Give stuff away.
Okay.
If we don't want it in, we won't. But
great.
The idea is that people watch the Blu-ray and then they can go watch the special features.
Oh, sweet. Okay,
great.
Great.
Okay, cool. So the idea behind this great thing that Corey came up with or had this idea for was these 2 different logos with just like a slight shift in some of the text on each of these business cards that are very important to the main character, Alex. So Alex interacting with these things can seem important in certain moments, and then yet like just off to the side, you'll kind of notice that slight shift of something being different. And so it really was this sort of basis of what logo paired with what other logo did we want to look at. And so it was this sort of mechanical thing with a human body that was more about yoga. And so I think I sent maybe 3 options to Corey, and Corey was like, this is it, good to go. Which is one of my favorite parts of what we got to do, was that collaboration type stuff and those little Easter eggs throughout the entirety of the movie.
Yeah. And then even just taking the time to figure out exactly the design of the cards and the color schemes and all of these different things and keeping, and often it is a moment of keeping a lot of other broad scale things in our heads of what other color schemes are we going to have because of the location that we're at or because of what kind of car are we going to be using or what is the table going to look like and so it's the storytelling along with what's going to work for the shot and sort of trusting those things are going to work, but also trying to have as much forethought as possible for what will work in conjunction with other things.
Yeah. Perfect.
Yeah.
So I know every day there's like 50 obstacles that you overcome, but what's one of the biggest obstacles you had on set of either of the 4 days that you think of right away as soon as I said obstacles?
Surprisingly, not the apartment.
No.
For me.
No.
The sign.
The sign.
So the first day.
That sign.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Hold that thought.
Yeah.
You can re-ask that.
Okay.
I hope I didn't ruin that as obstacle. But I gotta get more light on these guys.
That's what you said.
Yeah.
Without a doubt.
Everything
else.
That's really bright, right? Or are you guys okay with
Oh,
that?
it's fine. If it looks good on camera, it's fine.
Yeah.
Can we reference that the signs are behind us, Corey?
Yes, please.
Okay.
That's another one of my favorite Easter eggs. I was like, can I give that away?
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, and actually I was going to say, so Jimmy re-asked that question, but keep in mind, it's related to the two business cards. There's a reality sign and there's
Exactly.
a dream sign.
Exactly.
A reality business card and a dream business
Absolutely.
card. So
Yeah.
just try to keep that in mind when you guys answer
Okay.
this question. But
Great.
Go for it, Jimmy.
So of all of the obstacles that you face on a daily basis and,
Yeah.
and overcoming all of those, what's one of the biggest obstacles or challenges that you can think of, and how did you resolve that?
I think that I feel like it would seem like because of how much work it was flipping the apartment from what it looked like to what we wanted it to look like. But ultimately, it was actually first day putting the sign up.
Absolutely.
Because those signs are awesome and they look really cool, and it's exactly the same reflection of the whole card thing where there's like the dream version and then the real life version, and that the dream version is somehow like emptier and different and somehow, but I mean, that was definitely one of those moments where you're like, oh, is this gonna happen? Like, I was legitimately on set like, are we gonna fail our first day? Oh no.
So the problem came in that just like the literal putting the sign up in the location. We couldn't screw into the things because it was a metal door. There was also another sign already there, and that sign was actually quite a bit larger. So it was also like, how do we mask this thing? But how do we also make these signs look like they are legitimately put up? So they would have a screw in them. And so it was, I mean, we made it work, I believe, with Velcro.
Yeah. We like, oh God, there were all sorts of things that were happening. I think that is ultimately, even though it can be really scary, it's one of my favorite things about production design is the on-set moment of problem solving. Because I love that. I love puzzles.
Creating
and so it
problem
felt like an
solving.
insane puzzle.
Yes.
I mean, we were like running up to different floors to see if there were other signs that somehow had like the color scheme that we need. I forget what we were doing, but we were like unscrewing other signs
Flip
from like
it
other
around and
Yeah.
then screw it back up and then
Yep.
put our sign on top of it just so that it looked like it could be
Absolutely.
realistically in that space.
Because that's another thing that's big for me is making sure, I mean, because once we had it up there with the Velcro, we still have the holes.
Yeah.
So it still needs to look like we had to like, we had to, I think, saw off, which we already had in our bag, but then figuring out how to get them in there because they weren't fitting how we wanted them to with all the other stuff behind them, but getting the screws that were half sawed off into the holes to make it look like this sign wasn't Velcroed on, looking like it was actually screwed onto the door.
Well, and part of our process as creative partners is to always think of everything intentionally. So it's not just as a designer of like, oh, make this look real. It's also with intention. So which was also sort of fascinating to get to work with that dream world with the signs and then the reality world. And again, to find like other moments within that we got to kind of, for lack of a better word, like exploit that as designers.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think ultimately too is recognizing that this is a community process and it's a collaborative process, and you're building a team and a group of people who are going to be working with for multiple days and many hours, high stress, and ultimately that, in my opinion, always on set, stress is the enemy of creativity. And so even in those high stress moments, finding moments to be like, we'll figure it out. we'll make it work. If we have to ask for extra time, we'll ask for extra time. If, if it doesn't quite work how we want it to, like, it's fine. We'll figure, but we are going to work until the last second that we have to make it work. But never letting fear, because you can't, we're all walking through life with fear all the time, but never let fear turn into any kind of like animosity or any kind of like anger or snippiness with each other or with other people. Yeah. And so I think that's really big for us. So even though I know both of us were like sort of like, oh no, how are we going to do this? It was just a lot of like, okay, let's figure this out together.
How about I try this?
And that was great. And we asked that of the other production assistants to help us out and help us sort of problem solve some things. And ultimately we figured it out.
Awesome. And could you just make a quick reference
Yeah.
to the sign that
Yeah.
you're talking about?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So so we had the two different signs because the one was blank, as we have them back here. So we have the blank one and then the one from Alex's actual life. Which was a really fun idea even. And that was one of those things, for example, we had our long list of props and things that we needed. And that was one we knew we needed to get done quickly because we were going to have to actually order signs from a sign company, which is now, again, as a production designer, you end up learning how to do very odd things like that you can just order signs like that and that you can order blank ones. They were probably like, this dumb girl, she like forgot to fill out her sign and we're going to send it to her anyway. And I was like, nope, we wanted it that way.
This is what we wanted.
And we went through a few different designs with Corey also. We've had some ideas of other words that could maybe be on there that were slightly off from the real world. But ultimately,